and welcome to episode one of Philosophical Friday. For me, this is more an experiment. Whether it will continue to be something that is worthy carrying on is another matter. One thing I will say, it's more going to be like a podcast, so you don't have to watch this. You can just your headphones in and listen. Philosophical Friday is my idea of talking to people and getting them to pose me questions. I've got one of these minds that doesn't really switch off, so I thought I could put it to good use because I'm constantly thinking and I really like to read about these topics. So let's get started. I've got maybe 6 or 7 questions that have been posed and I'll have a go at tackling them. So Tomahawk465 has said, firstly, he asked who my supplier is. I won't be answering any questions like this. It's just not going to happen. But he posed this. Similar has already been asked, but my main issue now is what's best to buy. Numismatic, where the coins aren't so influenced by spot, are generic gold/silver and stack high, hoping that economy crashes and gold/silver rockets. Now, firstly, one thing I will say is that I'm not a financial advisor, so anything I do say is opinions I've made over the years that I've been buying and selling, and it's not personal advice. I.e., you can't take me to court. But so, what are my views on that? Personally, I think it's more down to do with the money supply. I think the question isn't so much if gold or silver will go up. I think it's more to do with, do you believe the money supply will get stretched? We know it will. We know that the Fed has said that it will do anything in its power to keep the show on the road. And if they have to print into infinity, that's what they will do. We know in the UK that they have put excessive, or maybe it's not excessive, but they put multiple rounds of quantitative easing into the system. This has happened in Europe. It's also happened in Japan. So, in my mind, the question isn't what should you buy. I think that most things will go up. As for silver, I've got a little theory that I've been working on. I did some research recently on the gold silver ratio. It's something I don't particularly enjoy. I think it's a nonsensical argument. But the gold silver ratio has been widening, and it's been widening in my mind off the back of an increasing money supply. I have a theory that when the money supply increases, that the rich do get richer due to their assets and the poor are left struggling, and it tends to be your working class who buys your silver and your rich people who buy your gold because they can afford it. So if you are to read into that, personally I think numismatic coins will do well. I'd go for coins that are top specimens. I don't deal with them personally, but if I was offered the chance to buy shield sovereigns that are numismatic, I'd certainly buy them. I think silver will lag. I do think it will have its day, but I think it will lag compared to gold. I can see in my mind anyway that there's going to be increasing divergence of gold and silver in terms of the gold silver ratio. So Tomahawk also says, I'm preparing for a major economic downturn by ensuring we have good food supplies. I think that's perfectly prudent. Like, my mother is a massive hoarder. Also, I have capital in hand in the form of cash outside of a bank. I'll be purchasing more property for rental income funded with cash removed from stocks. I think rentals will do well. I don't know about the individual market that you operate in. I couldn't tell you, but if I'm right about the money supply, then all forms of assets should go up. It's just a case of what will go up quicker. He also wrote, I'm not planning for a total economic collapse. If that were to happen, physical gold and silver will either be worthless until an economy is established, or it'll be taken from you by those with guns. As someone from the UK, I'll replace that with knives or sticks. It's a fair comment. I don't think there's going to be a total economic collapse in any way, shape, or form. If you look at two countries that have suffered from hyperinflation in Venezuela and also in Zimbabwe, both of them are relatively new countries in terms of how their economic system worked. I was reading up on Venezuela, and I think it's 1999 when Hugo Chavez came in and completely changed the structure of the company, of the country, sorry. And Zimbabwe was from the 80s, I believe. They're relatively simplistic economies when they collapsed. The US and the UK are much, much older and they're much more complex, and they're very sophisticated in how their systems have been built over those centuries. So I hope that kind of answers that question. It's kind of long-winded, but these are not simple answers. So Silver Bean Counter, one of my favorites actually. I really enjoy Silver Bean Counter's channel. I think, well, I struggle to watch a lot of channels, but I try and watch the odd episode when I'm free. So he asks, do American bullion coins sell for a premium or a discount in the aftermarket in the UK? Well, it's not as simple as saying yes or no. I think you need to break up the American bullion market. Firstly, you've got your governmental, so your Silver Eagles, they definitely sell for premium. They are considered very highly in the UK. I've often got people who want Eagles. I offer them Brits, which have got tax status, and they're like, no, I want Eagles. So they do sell for premium. I tend to find that dimes, quarters, halves, dollars, they sell for a premium. So I think it's more to do with the independent mints that don't really sell for a premium. Like I used to moan that Scottsdale Mint makes some of the best things in the world. I genuinely believe that, but they don't do as well as they should in terms of premium. I used to get the 10-ounce stacker bars in, couldn't move them for the premium I thought they deserved. I think the independent mints tend to struggle when there is a choice. Now, this does bring me to the point that since the virus kicked off, there has been less choice, so all silver has really been going for a premium. I think that will revert back to normal. I don't think your elementals and I just don't think your mints that are churning out like the silver buffaloes and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to do too well, and I don't think they will maintain a premium. I think they will go for a discount. Another thing that a lot of Americans don't realize is that the UK market has more duality in pricing, in the sense that in the States you don't have VAT. In the UK we do have VAT, whether you buy it from the likes of Germany or Estonia, where it's got a diminished form of VAT. So there is different pricing structures for different coins in the UK, more over than that of our American counterparts. So, all right, next question. Cactus Jack Swag. This is a relatively new subscriber of mine. I'm hoping I can help him out with my views. So he says, I'm relatively new at stacking, and A, I'm not wealthy, and B, I want to add gold to my silver stack. So I received my first gold today. It was a 10-ounce kookaburra. Strictly dollar speaking, the premiums make the weight a bad choice, but I have trouble saving for a half or 1-ounce piece. What are your thoughts? Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. I actually addressed this recently. I'm a huge fan of fractional coins, and the reason I'm a huge fan, like I covered it before, I actually make slightly more because I'm good at buying, but that's not the reason why I'm a huge fan. I've always discovered that, and this is actually how I built my business. The premiums you pay, you can get back when selling peer to peer. You only lose the premiums when you're selling to a dealer. Or some dealers, such as myself, will pay you a small premium over spot for smaller coins. But I'm not a big dealer. I'm very much a small, tiny dealer. So I don't have that pulling power of someone with a shop, so to speak. Now, that's part number one out the way. So there's always going to be people who will pay it in the peer-to-peer market. And also, I think more and more people are going to be priced out of the half ounce or the 1-ounce pieces. So if you want to buy big, I think moving forward, if you go by the theory that gold will go up and down in an upward motion, then I think the chances of you selling to someone else on the peer-to-peer markets will get less and less over time. If you, like, for example, I was reading a research note, and I think it's Bank of America, you can take this with a pinch of salt. They were predicting that gold could go to $3,000 an ounce. How many people can afford $3,000 an ounce? Not many. So I don't think buying fractional is necessarily bad as long as you sell it properly. And also, if gold is going to rise that high, then you're going to make up the premium anyway. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about that. All right, next question. Olaf the Mighty. Here's a question: are you still buying with gold being at Are you still buying with gold being at an 8-year high? Don't you think we're due a major correction? Shouldn't we all wait and buy the dip? I personally don't believe this in any way, shape, or form. It's not that I'm a gold nut or a gold bug. I personally think, like I said prior, that it's to do with the money supply, and I think the money supply is going to be expanded. I think the 8-year high has nothing to do with market sentiment or supply issues. I genuinely just think it's to do with there being more broad money in the system, and that money is being pushed into assets that are limited by nature. So I don't think we should all wait and buy the dip. Personally, I think there will be dips. I think, well, personally, I'm going to be buying. I'm going long, and I'll buy consistently. So, right, Jack and Howard. Hi, Sean. What's your view on buying and perhaps selling for a profit old coins such as hammer coins, Roman coins, or coins from the Tudor, Georgian, or Stuart eras in gold or silver? Now, this is actually an interesting topic for me because I don't deal with these types of coins. I actually think there's more profit in these types of coins if you're a skilled buyer. I don't deal with them because you have to be very skilled in knowing what's what, and there's also a more limited marketplace for selling it. But I do think that there's more money in it if you are a savvy buyer. Do I want to add to that? No, I personally I think they can be very profitable, but you need to know what you're doing. So I'll leave that one at that. He also added with another question. Hi Sean, what are your views on MLM metal companies? I've been involved with a few over time, but I've found they are mostly hype and geared to the American market. Always wondered if someone set up a UK networking gold and silver company, how it might go, as many would like to set up in the bullion business but haven't got the money to do it. Personally, I'm not a fan of MLM companies or multi-level marketing companies. I think that they're very cult-like. I think that the very top do very well, and everyone else gets shafted. That's my views on it. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of them in any industry, and I think that if you want to buy and sell gold, I think there's easier ways to make money than setting it up and kind of recruiting people. And also, I think it's morally kind of dubious in the sense that if you are recruiting people, you are inherently doing better than the person below you, and then the person below that, and the person below that. I think that's morally. I don't agree with it. So no, I'm not a fan of it. Next question: where can I pick up some 10th Plat Britannias up close to spot? I actually kind of answered this on the thread. It's near impossible to pick up close to spot. Yeah, I recently bought a batch 25 in. I bought them for myself, but my supplier had more in. I paid nowhere near close to spot. I spoke earlier about the duality of pricing, and you need to realize that there's a spot price and that there's an actual market price. All you have to do is buy underneath the market price. The spot price is kind of by the by. So yeah, I don't think you're going to get anywhere near it, even in the American market. And if you get it under the radar without paying VAT, which is something that as a business I don't do. So he also wrote, or Bullion Bill also wrote, any advice on the best European dealer to use then? I use quite a lot. Most of the dealers I like working with tend to be independents or family-run businesses. I won't share any details of that, but in terms of European dealers that are quite decent to use, there's a website called gold.de. So this will compare and contrast all German dealers. I tend to use it as a price benchmark. Gold, silver, Celtic Gold I've used. European Mint I haven't used, but I've heard good things about it. Yeah, I think there's enough there for you to really get your teeth into. I don't tend to use the UK companies for silver or platinum, but for gold, I like Atkinson's bullion. Shards, I've heard good things about. I wasn't too impressed with how much they charged me for some sovereign tubes. Again, nothing to do with their professionality. I just thought they overcharged me. I really like Hatton Garden Metals. I spoke to them a lot. They're very polite on the phone. Yeah, again, I'm pretty happy with that lot. Baird Mint tend to be a good company to use, and also ATS Bullion have always looked after me. Right, Catman734. What's your thoughts on GDX and GDXJ? Now, I didn't actually read into this. I'm really sorry. I said I would. I didn't really have time. But I will give you an overview of where I think the stocks and shares market is going to go. So I think that what is happening at the moment is similar to what happened with the shale oil boom in the States. I think that there's going to be a lot of gold plays that were uneconomical that are going to be moved further along the value curve. So, for example, there's one company I've been following recently. Again, this is not advice or anything like that, but it's called Bluebird Mineral Ventures. No, sorry, Bluebird Merchant Ventures. Now, they've recently acquired rights to drill or get to market gold within South Korea. And essentially, South Korea was heavily mined for gold when the Japanese took over. It hasn't been mined for gold in decades. But with the price being so high, if you subscribe into the theory that you think gold is consistently on the path upwards due to excessive money supply, and what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of junior gold miners who are sitting on assets that are uneconomical that I believe will be either merged with other companies or acquired via the big boys. It's a lot easier for the medium to large scale players to buy out smaller players, and I think it's going to be the companies who have sat on assets for a few years where gold wasn't so attractive, and I think their values are going to go exponential as they either bring gold back into production or taken out by the bigger players. So I do think there's a lot of value to be had in the share space. I would primarily focus on your medium plays. I reckon will do well, and I think the smaller players. I'm not really looking at the big boys. I think the big boys have a lot of costs. They have large banks. I think the value is in the smaller ones. So yeah, that's it for today's podcast. I hope that I've answered some of your questions, and feel free to agree or disagree or to comment back and tell me what you think of my answers. So take care, guys. Bye.